Hi again, my name is Tony McGregor and welcome to Body and Spirit. I have with me in the studio today William Waite. William is a saxophone player, but he's also a psychologist, and he's developed or is in the process of developing a technique to deepen self-understanding. He calls it focus, but I'm going to let William explain that. What is focus exactly, William?
Well, focus is basically a synthesis of various practices that I've done over the years, including meditation, psychology, movement, and ritual. And I've synthesized these things into a system that is done in a group setting.
Okay. Have you tried it, William?
Yes, I actually came on this myself through. This is in the future. This is like a few years ago.
Yes.
And I was doing some Tai Chi movement, and there happened to be some music in the background. And at one point, the music and the Tai Chi movements kind of came together, and I experienced an epiphany, a sense of unity between the music and the movement, and that was the beginnings of focus. I got interested in what was happening, why this work, how it happened, and focus as a result of that.
So it was actually an accident, William.
Yes.
That this you happened to be doing Tai Chi when this music was playing, and somehow or other they came together for you. And what kind of experience did you have? Can you describe it?
Well, it was, I'd call it a unitive experience where there was no longer the observing mind, there was just movement, and I was the movement. The Sufis talk about the dancer becoming the dance. It was a very similar experience, and it was very quiet. It was a very quiet, peaceful experience, which is different from the earlier experiences I had.
Do you think this was a one-off experience, that this special moment in time and in your life that enabled you to become one with the dance, so to speak? Or do you think that it can happen regularly under the right circumstances?
Actually, it's happened to me several times in various circumstances, and part of my history has to go along with the different times that it happened. The first time I was in my late teens playing music, and I was working with a rhythm and blues band, and which, for those of you that don't know, rhythm and blues is a very intense, highly rhythmic music. And I was working in a club where there were dancers, and the music we were playing for dance, and the intensity built up to a point where I merged into, first I was playing my saxophone, and I had a very tactile sense of merging into the horn, so it was like the horn and I were one. And then that experience deepened the intensity of it, and I merged into the music, so my personal identity was obliterated, and I became the music. And it kept going until I merged into the whole room, and with the dancers and the energy and the excitement, and I became part of that experience rather than an observer to it. I was the experience.
That's interesting, because I was just watching a film on Fado, the Portuguese version of blues and dealing with suffering, and they kept talking about my Fado, almost as if they were talking about an experience that I'm having, and seemed to be totally carried away with the music and what it symbolizes to them. So you think that it happened to you more than once, so you think that this is an experience that is not necessarily a unique one-off experience. Do you think that anyone can experience that?
Oh, absolutely. The way I choose to look at it, and this is just a model, we can look at us in terms of what we do, the doing person or the ego. And as a doer, I'm a separate individual and moving as a separate identity. Underneath that is the primary energy of the organism or the cosmos, whatever you want to call it. I look at that as being, and rather than a personal identity, it's a unitive identity. And certainly the religious traditions all speak of this in one way or another. The work that I did with psychedelics, many of the people that had psychedelic experiences reported the same kind of thing. Musicians talk about this experience, artists talk about it. And it's basically, as I see it, a unification or a direct experience of the being, of the humanness.
You say that it deepens self-understanding. Is it something permanent, William? You have this experience, but does it have any impact on your life and the way you lead your life? What does it do for you?
Well, it does something different for everyone. I mean, there are people that have had experiences like this and have been locked up in nut houses. So it can be a very terrifying experience, and for someone that's not prepared for it, people who have had so-called psychotic breaks, many of them are people who talk about the same general experience, but rather it's done from a place of contraction and dissociation rather than expansion and acceptance.
But it seems that these moments that you're talking about, the artists and musicians experience, it seems like it's a spontaneous thing. Can you actually sort of consciously enter into that kind of experience?
Well, I think that's what religious traditions are about. So meditation of various kinds, and certainly any number of meditations. And some of them are involving movement and ritual. And so that's part of what focus is. I've taken some of the various techniques that I've studied, both from spiritual traditions, but also from psychology, and put them in the context to help people move into this more being state.
Absolutely. What exactly have you done with focus then? What would a focus session consist of based on movement and sound?
Well, focus is done in a group setting. It doesn't have to be, but that's my choice to have it in a group setting. I think that the interaction between people and being able to share experiences is a way of supporting and helping people unify their own individual experience. Part of focus has to do with being aware, being in the moment, and being able to relate in a social mood that way. Anyone that's done, say, a meditation retreat for several days will go into a being kind of place because the stimulation is from the inside and the being manifests itself. The difficulty is after a very short period of time being out in the world, you lose that and you get back caught up in the doing awareness, the ego identity rather than the being identity.
I see. And did that happen to you? You had these several experiences in which you sort of, I don't know if lost your identity is the right word, but kind of a awareness of you being part of the whole. Did it stick with you? Did it change your life? Did it change your behavior in any way?
Absolutely. The person I thought I was before I had these experiences was very defined and very structured, very tight, very psychological.
Okay, yeah, I see. But so you think that can you consciously do it? Can you consciously say to yourself, okay, in this setting now I'm going to lose myself in the music and become one with what is going on? Is Is that possible?
I don't think so. I think that the difficulty with looking at it that way is that who is going to be consciously doing this? We're talking about the ego saying, I'm going to get rid of myself. I don't think that that's possible. But as with meditation or different other processes, if you surrender into the experience, if you let yourself go fully into it, the potential for being experienced is there.
Okay, thank you very much, William and Dr. Waite. We've been talking to Dr. William Waite, a psychologist and saxophone player, and we've been talking about focus, a technique to deepen self-understanding. Thank you.